Analysts. We've got Miss Ireti Bakare Yusuf. Good morning, Miss Ireti.
Morning, Foles. Morning, Valentine.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Lagos.
And we have gotten YouTube land. Come Lagos. You want to see our
Approved the 2019 to 2021 medium-term expenditure framework. It's with the acronym MDEF. That's about $1.5 million. That's was a loan from the African Development Fund. That's earmarked for the multinational Lagos to Abidjan Corridor Highway Development Project, as meant to be a 6-lane dual carriage highway spanning 5 countries and some other areas. Please take us through the story to see, some of the details on what they entail.
Okay, so Lagos, this is just explaining how the government is spending our money. First and foremost, let's look at some of the key highlights. The oil price benchmark is $60. Production is 2.3 million barrels per day. Exchange rates of 305 naira to $1. A gross domestic product growth rate of 3.01% and budget size of 8.7 trillion naira, which is about 400 billion naira less than a 2018 budget of 9.2 trillion naira. So let's also see some of the approvals, like you mentioned, the specifics of how the specifics of how we're going to spend this money.
Yes.
So the FECAS, that's the Federal Executive Council, has approved the loan of $1.5 billion. Now, before we all get scared of yet another loan.
Yes, everyone is terrified. Every time we hear it, we have PTSD when it comes to loans.
Loans right now, yeah. But this is actually not a new thing, and it's more of an African loan. So the African Development Bank in 2016 has approved a total sum of $13.5 million for a project that would involve, that is a 6-lane dual carriage highway spanning 5 countries: Nigeria, Benin Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Togo. So the $1.5 billion it's for the Nigerian corridor, from the Lagos to Abidjan corridor. So it's not a new loan in the sense of we've gone to.
Okay.
It's just we're moving forward with what the African Development Bank did in 2016. Okay, so then the Minister of Power, Works and Housing has disclosed that his ministry has presented a memorandum for the rehabilitation of the Lagos-Badagry Seme Road. Very important, very, very important road. The cost of the project will be 63.023 billion naira, which would construct 46 kilometers from Agbara to Seme border. The council has also approved the African Trans-Sahara Highway project from Algiers to Lagos, the Nigerian section, which will span Lagos to Katsina, Transversing, Ibadan, Oyo, Bomosho, Ilorin, Katsina, Abuja, and Kano. So yeah, this is important. I know a lot of people don't like to go through numbers and stuff, but now the government, we are getting details of how the money is going to be spent, the budget is going to be implemented.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. There's also an area where it speaks to what the Senate has decided to do. I mean, going on a 2-week recess to allow its members to just oversee the functions of the MDAs.
Yes. So the Senate has...
More recess.
Yes.
Okay. No. So it's let's call it a working recess.
Oversight.
So their committees are going to look into the implementation of the 2018 budget by the MDAs.
Okay.
So generally ensure that the MDAs
are doing what they're supposed to.
The money was released for. They actually carried out what the money was released for. So it's a recess for the committees to go work and then come and present their findings.
I want to go back a little bit to infrastructure because we have mentioned here several times that infrastructure is important, it's good. It is also something that this government has focused on. However, whenever it's mentioned to the general public, for some reason there's a very hostile response to infrastructural development, and people keep saying, well, why should we bother with that when our people are suffering? It always goes back to the people, the population. And interestingly, there was a Twitter thread I noticed yesterday where one non-lazy Nigerian youth focused on his area in Festac and actually went around and counted about 700 plus potholes, and not mini potholes. We're talking craters. Things were growing in the potholes in the middle of the road.
You're talking burial grounds.
Yes, yes. It really was. It was quite worrying. So, I mean, what would you say to our listeners out there who are feeling a bit still very aggrieved at this focus on infrastructure that they feel doesn't really have any impact on them.
Oh yeah, so the argument about infrastructure versus human capital development is actually very genuine argument and conversation. Whichever way you look at it, Nigeria is a country that has too many issues to deal with very limited resources.
Yeah.
And so we have to pick one. When you look at the nature of this kind of infrastructure, I'm always a proponent for human capital development above infrastructure, because the people that you're building for, development needs to come from the people. But it's also very important that the kind of infrastructure that we're doing is the kind that would open corridors for economic development and all of that. And then let's look at our inroads. It's time we begin to hold local governments, councils, state governments responsible for their own aspects of the road. Most of the projects that are discussed in this budget are federal government-sized projects.
Yes.
There are some inroads that we should be able to point a finger at our local government chairman, because they do get revenue as well.
They do, on a monthly basis.
So,
All right.
So move on to this one. Still sticking with Guardian for this next story. Representatives probe Chinese body parts drugs in Nigeria. We recall it's a very disturbing memory about the Panamanian Eduardo Arias when they discovered that a toothpaste sold in the country was labeled as containing diethylene glycol, the same ingredient as tainted cough syrup, and killed 138 Panamanians in 2006. With this memory in mind, now the House of Representatives now seem to be working, and they've ordered an immediate investigation into claims that the Chinese drug manufacturer might be smuggling medicines containing human parts into the country. They said they've used certain the constituents are really troubling, because it mentions human remains, fetuses, infants, and flesh imported into the country by some Chinese nationals used in the drug capsules.
But this information came from a memo that was apparently sent to the NIA, and which was then sent to Nigeria's watchdog agencies. So there's a lot of.
So that's where it gets important. That's where it gets important, because look, and when the memo comes, we mustn't ignore these things when you're informed, right? And I like the fact that one of the House of Reps, what's his name, Emmanuel. Okay, you gotta help me out here, brother. Agbana Inyama Edo, from Edo. Help me out, Lagos. How do they say that? From Edo State, APC Edo State. He's the one that's sponsoring. That's the one. Yeah, he's the one that's sponsoring this, and I'm glad that he took it on board. And he said, look, what he's basically said is, look, this has come to our attention. I am asking all relevant stakeholders to investigate and work together to investigate it. Where it gets worrying is then you now have, Yisa, Oka Jev Yisa of Benue PDP.
That's the chairman of the House Committee on Rules and
playing
Business.
Politics, total nonsense. But he's saying no.
He only said that NAFDAC and some other security agencies already have that responsibility to check.
That's absolutely nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Look, there's nothing wrong with everybody working together. And I think that's the only thing my brother with the long name is saying from APC Edo State. That's the only thing he's saying. He's not saying let's create a new government parastatal. You do need the work, the help of all stakeholders. How are you? Nigeria is so vast, it's so dense. You can't get to every nook and cranny of where she spreads to. So I think he's playing politics. And when he says, look, he was against the motion, and he said fresh investigations was unnecessary. That's what he said. Fresh investigations were unnecessary since bodies like NAFDAC and security agencies were already working on the issue. I beg to differ. Now, going further down, let's go in. So it gets even more interesting. Now, the NAFDAC director, Professor Muji Adeyeye, clarified. She said, the report said the capsules were in hundreds of thousands, but usually we don't make medicines in thousands. We make medicines in millions, which means this must be something small. Then, I'm sorry, I have to say this, she foolishly then goes on and says, oh, it must be the traditional medicine people. What you talking about, Willis? What do you mean traditional medicine people? Are you trying to say my uncle that's a babalawo or my cousin that could be what do you call it, a herbalist could be the one doing that's just
not
you know,
necessarily.
no, but it's wrong. It's wrong.
He probably
My
just
point
expressed
is,
this.
it's not. It's wrong
okay,
to
so
say that you are actually casting aspersions on somebody else's trade.
Not
And I may
necessarily.
not. Yes, you are. I may not have an uncle that's babalawo, but I respect those that are babalawos, and I respect those who make herbal medicines. And you have no right to say maybe it's over there. So it goes on. Allow me to finish. It goes on. Then she says it may be the traditional medicine. It is not usual that drug manufacturers will make. What are you talking about? I'm in contact with my was the toothpaste that they found in Panama made by a babalawo? No, it wasn't. It was a normal toothpaste.
So what a NAFDAC official is implying is these they may be traditional medicines that are imported into the country
China.
and probably did not go through due process that most of these
So
major manufacturers
you're
would actually
extending what she
go
did
through.
not say. We're supposed to. So you're inferring that from that. I'm inferring from something else. So this is what happens.
It's in
When
context.
No, it isn't in context. When you say it may be traditional medicine, and an average person reads that, they're not going to think,
No,
oh,
but
it
I
may
think
be
she
the
meant
traditional medicine.
Traditional medicine,
Yes.
not Nigerian.
Not Nigerian.
Yes.
But we can't keep saying I think she meant.
No,
she
but
didn't say
okay,
Chinese
okay.
traditional medicine.
Ireti, so-
Stop. Allow me, please.
Alright.
She didn't say that in this. And that is my point. She said traditional medicine. Now, we then go on. Okay. Apparently, there is now a Chinese traditional medicine. She then goes on there is a traditional medicine that is made out of placenta. Yes,
Yeah.
that was on purpose.
Yeah.
That was on purpose. That's made out of placenta, and apparently it can't be. It can't be made from. It's not made from the placenta that's stolen. It's made from placenta that's discarded after a woman delivers. And you know, if this is the case, that it must be. It may be adulterated. That's it. She said it may be adulterated. So the first thing is that it is likely traditional medicine. Secondly, it is human remains. It is adulterated. Thirdly, we have to be on the lookout because we have never approved anything like that. We still have to be more vigilant. What I'm saying, and I totally, I agree with all of this. And what I'm saying is that first of all, the guy that put the motion forward, he was totally correct. The one that was playing politics with it was totally out of order. But NAFDAC can't do this by themselves.
Yes.
And NAFDAC also must be careful with the statements they make. That's my point.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ireti. Moving on now very quickly to Punch for this next story. Punch newspaper has this report. NLC threatens to shut down Nigeria after November 6. We find this story in some other national papers this morning. Now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has asked Nigerians to stock up on food as it will soon shut down the entire country, looking ahead to the November 6 deadline for the implementation of the 30,000 naira they're still demanding and standing on. Saying the federal government cannot go below that.
Okay, so when we consider what happened during the last strike, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are like rolling their eyes at it. And the NLC has to ask itself an important question: at what point did you lose the confidence and support of the regular Nigerian worker? That is the key question, because without that support, they're not going to go very far with the government, and they need to look internally as to how they lost that support, because their strikes are getting less and less effective.
Yeah.
So they need to be looking at other tools very soon.
Thank you very much for that, for me.
The next one, Nigeria has serious revenue problem. Still linking to similar to the first story that we took this morning. This one is a release from the Budget Office. They're essentially saying that's the Director of Budget in the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, Ben Akabweze, declared this yesterday, and he's essentially saying that if we do not address the revenue problem that Nigeria currently has, it will snowball into a debt problem. And we see a lot of debts incurred by the federal government, and a lot of borrowing going on. Ms. Ireti, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very quickly. So Funmi was right earlier. You know, you had a story on loans, and like Folu rightly said, everybody gets panic when it's loans. And the problem is, I keep saying on this show, look, we have to spend our way out of this recession. And governments borrow all the time. Borrowing money is not the problem. You and I can borrow. It's how we pay it back that's important. And how do you pay it back is through earning revenue. Now, the problem we have is we have an oil price that's gone up, but we have oil that's coming back into the country expensive. So, you know, our earnings and our outgoings just, they don't balance up to each other. And therein lies our big issue. So that's what I think we need to focus on. And that's what he's saying is, let's focus on earning more, not just from oil, but from all the other avenues that we have to earn money from.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. A few messages very quickly as we move on. Okonkwo Samuel up on Twitter says, well, all I can say is let's hope the exchange rate of 305 naira to a dollar is a prophecy that will come to pass. Otherwise, that outlook is dead on arrival. Good morning, he says. Meanwhile, Yinka sends in this one to say, please, the last time I saw my local government chairman around the coast was during the elections, campaigning up and down. That's what he wrote. He claims to be an engineer by training. He has a nickname, Oyesko. The kind of potholes in our area, especially on Love All Road, can swallow a car. Please ask the Honda users in my area. The mechanic is their best friend. And guess what? That chairman has got missing. Some people said that the moment he became chairman, he moved to Agodo. To Ikosi.
The posh part of Ikosi.
There you go.
Yes.
More still coming in. Top Baker from Ogudu says, Mr. Ireti making plenty of sense on the imported drugs thing. We can't afford to make excuses for government agencies. They do need to be more vigilant. Do you know that most body creams are now produced in Nigeria, yet they carry labels indicating other countries of origin?
Yes.
Very true.
That's
Very
sad.
true.
Thank you. And Ladiko says, nope, infrastructure development will lead to human capital development. There is more convenient environment to encourage learning, so people would build roads, provide electricity. That's building a learning curve for human capital development to thrive, says Ladiko. Thank you very much. Speaking of development, NUC orders varsities to revert to a 5-point grading system, according to the Daily Times. And to be honest, I'm going to sound very English right now because this point grading thing is not really working for me. I'm
Or
a
me.
2-1, is it a 2-2?
We don't
Is it a
understand
pass?
it.
Is it a third?
For you
but
and I
me,
don't
please
understand.
take us through the story for me.
Yes.
Okay, so like a lot of us did not understand it, but apparently we're reverting to a 5-point grading system. So the problem actually apparently has been that different universities use different grading systems
In Nigeria.
From another source that I looked at the story, some universities use up to 7-point grading system. Now, what does this do? So it determines where first class begins and ends, second class upper begins and ends, third class begins and ends, pass, and all of that. That is what it essentially does. So depending on your GPA, a first class in one university might translate to a 2-1
In another
university and things like that. So what has
Isn't
happened
that insane?
What has happened is we've had a lack of uniformity for the Nigerian system. And so what the NUC is trying to do is all universities adopt this particular system such that we know first class from every university depicts this, the second class upper depicts this. So yeah, I think good policy, because I mean, are we now?
I mean,
Your certificate does not show the grading system of your university.
No, it doesn't. It's funny. I've got to ask a quick question. When you do your school certificate, is it not the same across? So why does it change when you get to university? It's just insane.
It's the mystery of university
In Nigeria.
Mysterious. Speaking of mysteries, a good one here from the Vanguard newspaper. Life expectancy in Nigeria is now 55 years. We've gone up a couple of points because it used to be on average 47. Ms. Ireti, your thoughts on this? The WHO are saying that even in about 2040, we could possibly increase our life expectancy to 74.8 years.
This is why I'm saying to them, look, all these people, they're saying that, traditional Babalawo zone, they got work to do and they're doing something right. I can tell you that for free. Look here. I said to Folu downstairs, I used to think I would make 45.5. Now it's saying that I will make 55.7, whatever that means, that I'll get closer to 60. Now I have an expectation to make it to 65 if I make it close to 60. So this is good news. It actually says we must be doing something right. Now, apparently, though, let me rush quickly because Folu's given me that eye already. I'm going to rush quickly to the important part. It says here, the report shows that residents in Nigeria are liable to die of sickness and diseases. And it goes into list all of them, including HIV, pneumonia, tuberculosis.
The top of which is the flu, funny enough.
Yeah. Incidentally, what it doesn't list, which I think most of us will agree with, is, and I made my own list, NEPA, PHCN, traffic, mechanic, pothole, landlord, marriage, kids, school fees, job, unemployment, water, ambition, politicians, and Nigerian politics.
You know that falls into stroke and coronary heart
Idea
I
is neat.
mentioned the traffic.
Yes.
But
Potholes, traffic, exactly.
But I will
Traffic.
say that some of the other causes do include road traffic, and it does say that, and accidents. because the way that we behave on the roads is frightening. The number of Nigerians that were lost in the first quarter of Nigeria to road accidents, it was over 1,000 Nigerians died.
But it's not. That's just not down to traffic, and that's not down to bad driving necessarily.
Yes, in general.
That is actually down to the government. And it's funny you say that. I look forward to the day somebody is going to sue this government to say, as a result of you, I had a car accident. No, and several members of that family was killed because of.
But
really, that needs to happen.
A lot of it is just bad driving as well. Yes, there are bad roads. I'm not disputing that.
But no, bad roads cause bad driving. That's the problem in Nigeria. Most people don't know how to do a U-turn.
There is a young man from Muson Center who was slammed into by a danfo.
I get that, but that's no. I totally get you. But what I'm saying to you is, so those of us who learn to drive in a country that has good roads, you know how to do a turn. You do, ladies and gentlemen in Nigeria, to turn left, it is an L of the opposite side. To turn right, not a diagonal. But in Nigeria, everybody does a diagonal, and I got to understand why they do that. Because half the time you're trying to avoid a gutter, a pothole, a human being, a marwa. No, I'm not talking about turn indicators. I'm talking about how you maneuver.
Asking a question: how many Lagosians, and be honest, Lagos, how many Lagosians did a driving test?
Oh, they don't. Listen, no, not even test. Listen. Okay. Most people were taught to drive by drivers who can't drive, who were taught by people who can't drive in the first place.
So for time reasons, let's move on and let's hope that we will help ourselves keep our life expectancy up. Yes?
Amen.
Let's do that. Up next, from ThisDay newspaper, Emefiele, Forex restriction on 41 items saved Nigeria's economy. I think he's still scoring himself here and giving himself very good marks on the report card. Funmi, your thoughts on this story?
Okay, so he's saying that, the policy was restrictive of trade, but was necessary to protect the economy from importation of items that would dampen the local production and economic growth. Let's be honest to say, that was the resultant effect of the policy. But the policy came about because there was a shortage of Forex and we needed to restrict Forex for the perceived important items. What would have helped this policy? What would have made this policy have such a ripple effect was if we had sorted out things to aid our manufacturing sector to actually meet the needs and the demands that we have. So our manufacturing sector is still bogged down with lack of capital, lack of affordable capital, electricity, power, and all of that, such that, they might think that they were able to stop those products from coming in. But actually what happened with some of them was that we brought them in illegally because the manufacturing sector could not meet up with the demand. So that is what would have made this policy have that much effect.
Now, very quickly, going back to the debt issue, because it is mentioned in the same article, even though it's essentially a different story. Our Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Okechukwu Enelama, said that, listen, our rising debt stock should not be a concern for us. What should be a concern is the interest loans and the fact that we have a revenue problem, not a debt problem, because he says the debt to GDP is still under 20%. But it's like a person who has a mortgage on a house, a reasonable mortgage, but you don't have job.
Yes, which is practically the problem. Yes. We have, I think Ugodo has explained several times that we have sought to international financing because the interest is a lot cheaper.
Yes.
The question is, how do we pay it if we don't raise our revenue? And we're still largely relying on oil.
Yes.
Wow.
But meanwhile, we have Dr. Obi Ezekwesili still saying this is all scary. Let's push this for elections. Anyways, we move on. Our final story in from the Daily Times. Anti-graft war lands in aviation. So the reps are probing a 60 billion naira looting in the defunct Nigerian Airways. They've set up an ad hoc committee to investigate that amount that was allegedly looted by some political office holders and civil servants from the coffers of the defunct Airways.
I know, right? So I like this. I really like this. I like that the fact that we all cry for Nigerian Airways, don't we? We all miss it. And when it was good, it was good. And it was something to be proud of. And I remember there used to be statistics way back when I was younger than you guys are now, where they used to say something about Nigerian Airways had the best track record, what was it, record in non-crash or whatever it was, aircraft in aviation. And one was so, and we had beautiful uniforms and the women looked nice and our planes looked nice, the bags looked nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
And unfortunately, it turns out that, some pillocks, thievers, were busy, squandering the money, and basically 60 billion went missing. What I do like about this story, though, is that it looks like we're beginning to look at historical crimes. For me, I want you to come in here as a lawyer. So where previously in Nigeria you think, time don't pass, they no go look or whatever. And this is one of the things, and I hate to politicize this, but I've got to bring Buhari into this. This is one of the things that's beginning to happen with our mindset. I keep saying, you start planting positive things. The plant is corruption is bad, corruption is sinful, corruption affects all of us. It's a disease, right? Because we're beginning to think of it seriously, ever so tiny, things are beginning to change. Now we're talking about as you say, making people, punishing those who stole 60 billion, allegedly 60 billion from Nigerian Airways coffers. I think this is important for me from the legal angle. How do you think this is possible?
Well, the question you asked about whether we could still go back deals with statute of limitation. We do not.
We don't have a statute of limitation.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So this is good, and we also must celebrate the fact that Buhari just said to go and pay all the
people who are owed salaries.
The retirees, and really one again must applaud such efforts. Nigerian Airways, I decried its demise. I really, really miss the fact that we don't. I'm not saying we should start a new one, so don't go crashing your cars. I'm just saying I really, really, really miss it. And it's amazing how we use our hands. We are such self-destructive people in this country. It's sad. It's sad.
Thank you very much for that. Let's round up with a few messages.
We'll go from VI sent in this one. It said, I lowered my life expectancy because there's an extreme sport that I participate in every day. It is called Lagos traffic.
My brother, I was with you in that yesterday. It was a different level of difference.
We got this other message from Ife Ogunwumiji on Twitter. She said, young people can also die of peer pressure in Lekki, Lagos.
Yes, that's a good one. I think we should get people to send list of things that can kill you in Nigeria. Folu, there you go.
Yinka said, Funmi, is it true that if an individual decides to fix a bad road, it is an unconstitutional crime? It is against the law, and the government can charge you to court for trying to do their duty, which of course they are not doing?
They don't like you to do it.
Yeah.
They don't, yeah.
You need to get
You have
permission.
to, yes.
You need to get permission. You need to get
They
permission.
don't like you to.
Yeah.
But it is, if you do get permission, Dangote is doing so.
Yes. Don't forget that Ajose Adeogun was done by Zenith as well.
And don't forget, we're living in the Republic of Dangote.
Okay, well, let's keep moving. Busola from Folawi Ottawa says, this express being built to Ivory Coast is not relevant, but there are certain commas and questions that need to be asked due to the irresponsible attitude of the people who initially signed the contract and consequent executors of the project. As she goes on to say that this is an ECOWAS initiative and the African Development Bank is very much involved, but the truth of the matter is that we Africans are notorious for uncompleted projects. So let us just hope and pray that we are not mortgaging our children's future to expatriates, and this drugs issue is immoral and genocidal. Wow. The purpose is to addict Nigerians with amnesia in order to lose all sense of hope. What a shame.
Wow.
Is that talking about the body part?
The Chinese.
I'm not so sure. I think it's just people looking for miracle drugs.
She's clearly got the recipe.
But it is.
But we'll talk about that some more inside of Lagos Talks 981. Coming up next, though, let's talk entertainment inside of the grapevine. A big thank you to our freshly pressed analysts. Please continue the conversations with them online if you would like. You can find Miss Ireti, Bakare, Yusuf as Tisioge Lagos on Twitter, and you can find Funmi Odude as just that on Twitter as well. Do keep listening to Smooth Breakfast.
One pay.